Tonight on Debate Amongst Friends, we'll be discussing NFL Week 8, including the trade deadline, the NBA in review, and a little WWE action, starting now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. This is Debates Among Friends, live on Mixlr. Like us on our Facebook page, and on our Twitter handle at Debates Among Friends. Tonight is the 25th edition of this podcast. Professor John Gotti here, along with the doctor, here to provide you with our views on sports and our reads. Are you ready to do this, friend? Let's jump straight into it. Tonight, on Debates Among Friends, we are witnessing history as two teams who have been going through droughts for a championship are competing to win the MLB championship tonight.
Reads were crystal clear. I was almost positive that the Indians would just, take Game 5 and or 6, but it just did not happen. So, shout out to all the people out there supporting the Cubbies. I guess they don't want Cleveland to get too big-headed.
Well, you know how the professor feels about Cleveland.
Yes, I do. As long as the Browns aren't at the top, I think we're okay.
It's a pretty competitive game so far, though.
It is. Right now it's 1-0 at the bottom of the first. I'm still rooting for my, the Indians. I'm sure Wild Thing will come out there eventually. Maybe he'll join the parade.
Well, that's funny
that would be great.
Because Charlie Sheen actually mentioned the reason why they lost one of their games was because
Curse of the Wild Thing
pitch on Game 1. He's trying to do
Curse of the Wild Thing now.
Curse of the Wild Thing.
Curse of the Wild Thing. Oh God! Hashtag Curse of the Wild Thing now.
Dexter Filer gotten the solo shot home run that led to the 1-0 score that we currently have.
Of course, shout out to Mr. October, definitely holding it down. I'm sure we'll be hearing from him soon about the end of the MLB season.
Absolutely. Well, eventually, he'll come back. No worries about that.
We can't keep him away.
No, we can't. If not that, my poor car will definitely have to suffer.
It's so terrible.
Anything notable that you've seen in regards to this World Series this year, other than the love for the Cubs?
No, I think that's it's so amazing right now because it's almost like everybody, and I think Mr. October mentioned this, and it's like everybody is rooting for the Cubs. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I understand, they've been going through their struggles and this would erase a major history of letdowns and drought, as you put it. But
of championship tears.
But I've never seen a support like there is right now. Like, this isn't an underdog team. This is a pretty solid team.
Well, they're underdogs because they haven't won it in about 100 years. So.
But Cleveland. Come on.
Cleveland plus.
Yeah, it's really no major difference. It's one of those situations where, they won it, of course, since the Cubs last won it, but, the Indians have their own drought.
They have.
If you're really looking at it. But they're pretty, on paper, I would say, pretty equal teams. Everybody's rooting for the Cubbies. Like you said, the love of the Cubs.
The love of the Cubs.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Snubbing the guys in the red, and I don't mean Cincinnati, my friend.
Not Cincinnati,
for me, I just have to tip off my hat to all the pitching. Just so much dominance.
Well, the Cubs really, really laid it on the Indians in those two games. It was convincing wins. They weren't close wins. They were really, really convincing. So I'm interested to see how this final game comes out. And did we see a Warriors-like fall and the
Ooh.
Cleveland Indians.
Ooh. Now, how ironic would that be? For
How
the
ironic would that
Cleveland
be?
Indians to give up a 3-0 lead to just lose it all in the end.
I
That
mean,
would
how crazy?
be that would be the ultimate plot device when it comes
I mean,
to Cleveland and Ohio sports.
I mean, it would be insane. But I mean, it's definitely not something that I would say is impossible as we see the Warriors give it up.
I mean, they just Kyrie Irving came on the other side of the half court line, and Steph Curry just stood there and took it in the face.
And I just can't take it right now. And I need this game to be very competitive. But of course, we'll keep the fans up to date, as I'm sure they're home watching. But just in case they step away and they're listening to our show mobile, we can definitely keep them up to
You should
speed.
be listening to this and watching the game at the same time. How about that?
And I agree. I agree. But I know how people feel about the World Series, and we
Absolutely.
get it. We get it. But debate
Live,
amongst friends is
live
where it's
score right
at.
now is the end of the first inning, and the Cubs are still winning 1-0. They have 2 hits, and Cleveland has yet to record a single hit.
Still early, so let's give them some time.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
are in Cleveland, Ohio, so it's a home game. Hopefully the home fans can bring it home for them. What a crazy experience that would be to lose or win in Cleveland. Either way, do you expect some burnt jerseys again and a riot and all that foolery?
This is what I expect. I expect Cleveland to act like Vancouver when it comes to celebrating or burning away their sorrows. Because I still feel like Cleveland is probably the most overhyped and overrated city in America when it comes to sports.
I think it's just because of the history, or like the Jim Browns of the
I think it's more of the most
conversation.
recent histories, bro. Like just the way that
LeBron
they act
James,
like they're champions, but they haven't even won a title until this past year, of course.
of course.
But they act like they're like the New York Yankees of basketball.
Well, you know what? It's funny because I saw a picture, and people always do this, and I hate it. Um, People always, and this tends to be Cowboy fans.
Uh oh.
They
Oh
tend
boy.
they tend to rest on the fact that they've won so many championships and Super Bowls in the past that it erased their current state of actually losing and not getting to the Super Bowl. Like for me, like hey, the Bucks won a Super Bowl in 2002.
Yep.
And you don't hear me saying, "Oh, we won one before you guys." Like the last time you guys won one were in the '90s. We won one at least in this particular time period, even
In
though that
this
was 14
millennium.
years ago. Yeah, even though it's 14 years ago, at least we won it.
I
You know what
mean,
I
the
mean?
Cowboys only have two, and we're gonna get to football actually. Let's
Of
just let's
course,
just let's just
of course.
transition into football because I know the good doctor has a lot to say. But
Can we
this
just start? Can we just start?
go for it.
One name: Trent Richardson.
Oh boy,
The
Trent Richardson's a huge
doctor
fan of the
has
show.
read. I
He's a
said
huge fan of the show.
maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, how crazy would it be if Trent Richardson got another shot at the NFL before anyone even took a look at Ray Rice? Because, I mean, like I said, Ray Rice is in great physical condition. I
Absolutely.
understand everything going on, but how could the Chiefs not take a look at Ray Rice knowing that they need a running back, yet they would go after Trent Richardson? It's the craziest thing ever.
It's driving Flair nuts.
Like, I can't believe it.
But once again, this is what we talked about as well, and I believe I mentioned it 2 weeks ago. We could probably check the tapes.
Mm-hmm.
But Ray Rice is now blacklisted when it comes to being able to play professional football in the NFL.
And that's really, really crazy because when you think about it, it's one of those situations where, you know,
But when we correlate and we subjugate his situation with the likes of like that kicker from the Giants.
Or ex-Giant.
Well, first of all, it took them that long for them to cut him, and that was only after he basically admitted that he did it.
But then he admitted it, but then he took it back and said he never did it. Then
exactly.
I mean, it was really, really crazy.
Like,
but I don't know.
It's interesting because how much people was dogging on Ray Rice throughout this whole time, and even afterwards, and all this other stuff. But then with Josh Brown, it's not as much. So it makes me wonder, like, is it because Ray Rice a higher profile professional athlete?
Nah, see, that shouldn't matter.
Like, what is it? What is it that, you know, this one person is basically left on a stake, and this other person has a couple of mentionings, you know, and Stephen A. Smith went off on him, so shout out to Stephen A. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's really talking too deeply about it. You know,
and I mean,
it's more of a passing conversation than a, oh my goodness, this guy is the scum of the earth, blah, 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 blah. Like, they're doing with like a Greg Hardy. And I'm not defending them for what they did.
Of course. But what's the difference between one versus the other, obviously, outside of skin color?
Exactly. And that's something that we at Debates Among Friends has been wondering about for the past few weeks, ever since this newer domestic violence issue came to pass. Is why is one person getting a different treatment than the other, and they basically did the same thing.
And you want to know, and that carries on to even on the field now, and transitioning using the same argument. Cam Newton. Yeah. Cam Newton had to go and say, hey, what the heck is going on here? I'm getting destroyed. Can you please help me out here? You know, Tom Brady's not getting these hits.
I was just about to say that the doctor, hashtag Dr. Guy Reads, stated after that press conference, he said, and I quote, the league would have made a new rule if it was Tom Brady. And then he went on to say, you know what? They did make new rules against hitting the quarterback because of Tom Brady.
Because of Tom Brady. They've made several rules. I mean, they made the tuck rule because of Tom Brady.
Well, the tuck rule was already there. Okay, the tuck rule was in the books, but they don't necessarily use it, and it just so happens they decided to use it, air quotes, ladies and gentlemen. So it's like, it's a rule, but it's a rule people don't really say. And then it's
it wasn't. It was if it was in the rule books, it wasn't clear because it almost never happened.
Well, I don't think it wasn't clear. I think it wasn't enforced. I think that was the problem.
No, that tuck rule, that was a really, really big thing, that game, because to be honest with you, the Oakland Raiders have never been the same. Since that particular game, the Oakland Raiders have not been the same. They failed to make the playoffs several years after that. So, I mean, it really caused a lot of hurt for the Oakland fans. And then, of course, the no-hitting below the knees rule that they put in place because of Tom Brady. I mean, that doesn't seem to... It's kind of a gray area because it's like, if you are falling down and hit the quarterback on the leg because you're being blocked down, you know, it's not a penalty. It's weird.
It is.
You know, it's a very strange thing.
I mean, it's definitely something that, you know, the Angel of Goodell, now we're using Angel Stern for Goodell now, needs to, you know, speak with his committee and try to figure out a way to even up the playing field. I mean, come on, let's just even it up for all the quarterbacks. I mean, a lot of arguments was just talking about, well, you know, Cam likes to go out the pocket. Like,
right.
He's only feeling this way when he's out the pocket. No, Cam is getting drilled after he throws the ball.
Agreed.
You know,
high, low, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And he's managed to get up because he's a freakish athlete, and more power to him.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, wasn't he just the MVP?
He was. Rightfully so.
You're not going to protect the MVP? If Peyton Manning was still playing and that happened to him, you're not going to protect him? Yeah, you will. So why not do it for Cam Newton? Is it because he smiles? Is it because he dabs and dances? Is it because he's not the prototypical quarterback?
Is it because he's black?
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to go there, but I mean, if we have to go deeper down, and we do mean skin deep here at Debates Among Friends, it's a high possibility. It's because of that.
And that's where it gets to be
He's
a
a
little
black
tricky.
quarterback. He's a high-profile black quarterback. He's a good black quarterback who made it to the Super Bowl, who just so happened to lay a bad egg.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough. And I know a lot of Panthers fans who are still stung by that. I mean, but it's also one of those situations where you kind of have to be like, well, you kind of have to accept that consolation prize, which I hate, because it's one of those situations where you're like, at least we made it, but then you're like, that's really not enough.
It's not.
Because as a character in the movie Talladega Nights once said, Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last.
Exactly. Or like another famous person once said, either you're perfect or you're not me.
And that's true as well. But we also have some other news in the NFL outside of the racial debate, domestic abuse debate. Some signings, actually. Percy Harvin coming out of retirement to come to the Buffalo Bills. I mean,
again.
And yeah, it's funny. I posted on Twitter under Debate Amongst Friends, of course. The Bills needed a Percy to come out and save them. You know, they needed Percy.
They need an offensive weapon.
They needed him. I could see Rex Ryan getting on the phone and saying, "We really need somebody to come out here and give us a spark." And I could see him calling Percy Harvin and saying, "Percy,
my man,
I need you to come back." Like we really could use a spark here. We're teetering. I'm about to lose my job here, Percy. Because I think that's what's really happening in Buffalo. I think Rex is almost out. Nobody will probably admit it, but I really, really believe he's almost out. And he said, Percy, I need all hands on deck.
Yeah, basically.
And I need you to come back effective immediately. But also, I felt kind of bad for Niall Davis. I know I mentioned this to you earlier, but Niall Davis was traded from the Chiefs to the Packers. Then the Packers went forward and waived him. The Jets went forward and picked him up. Then the Jets said, well, we'd rather have C.J. Spiller. So they went forward and cut Niles. And now he's on the street again, and they picked up C.J. Spiller. And I just felt that was really, really crazy. The only major thing other than that happened, of course, the Patriots trade, which left everybody kind of shocked here. Because in New England fashion, they trade their best player for practically nothing.
Their best defensive player.
For practically nothing. And that's where it gets kind of crazy.
I mean, it hit them like, dare I say, a sweetkin.
Yeah, and Jamie Collins did say that he didn't ever mention wanting Von Miller money. That's something that I guess Mr. Schefter might have just put out there hearing from one of the Patriots people.
Yeah, he's been having a dicey relationship when it comes to athletes, too, in the NFL. Adam Schefter.
Yeah. Man, Shifty, he reports news that he wants.
Shifty?
Yeah, there you go. And then the last but not least, the Vikings, who, although started undefeated, have dropped 2 in a row, and now their offensive coordinator, Norv Turner, has resigned. How crazy is that?
Weekend. I mean, I think someone said it on Twitter today. I mean, Sam Bradford looked like he was the man when they picked him up. It looked like it was just genius, and now he turned to poop.
He carried him for a couple of games, and now it's just not working for him. But I know we have to move on. We got some great topics additional topics to cover here. Got a little NBA action. Anything jump out to you so far about the NBA?
Well, other than my Knicks winning and their home opener with me being in attendance, which is awesome.
How was that? How was that experience for you?
It was. I definitely would say a once in a lifetime experience. I mean, to be able to watch a team doing a home opener, the pregame stuff, and you know, being able to watch a lot of the history, watching a lot of the legends of the game of the franchise.
I saw you take some pictures.
Yes, yes. I forgot to put some on my Twitter at Ken86 and also follow the doctor at TL Double. But I mean, the view was amazing. I went to MSG a lot as a kid, but never for a Knicks game. It was always for wrestling, and it was just a great experience. And shout out to JJ for organizing this all and inviting me out from Texas. So big shout outs to him. But we got the win. Uh, I mean, we played a hell of a game, and I mean, one of the things, and we'll talk about this because right now, the professor's team is currently getting a shellacking from the doctor's team. We're losing 62-45, 2:30 left in the second quarter.
Which is really, really impressive, man. I mean, not trying to rub it in, but I mean, 62 points.
By all means, rub it in, please.
No. There's no rubbing in. We don't rub in here, but 62 points. Let me tell you how impressed I am with these Houston Rockets. Although we lost last night to the Cleveland Cavaliers, I am so impressed with their ability to compete this year. Because, I mean, they're scoring, and I know a lot of people say it's D'Antoni system. Oh, we're going to score between 0 to 10 seconds. And, I mean, these guys are really, really going out there and trying to score between 0 and 10 seconds. Like I saw Trevor Ariza take 2 threes in 5 seconds yesterday. It was crazy.
That's insane. I mean,
yes.
But that's the D'Antoni system, though.
And it works. I'm pretty happy with it so far.
I mean, the ball's getting passed around. James Harden's running the point with Patrick Beverly down. I mean,
even when he comes back, I think it's going to be James moving forward. The one person I am very, very impressed with, and he was the only questionable person coming into the season for the Rockets, I think was Eric Gordon. Didn't know what we were going to get from Eric Gordon, but watching him last night and even watching some of the points he's putting up today, him and Ryan Anderson, more Eric Gordon than Ryan Anderson. Eric Gordon's really stepping in and being a good filler with James Harden. They play very well together, and I think Ariza's aggressiveness is matching this particular team. He has more confidence in his shot. Now, from your visit to New York, what were some things about the Knicks that really stood out to you?
I think the main one was how they fed off the crowd so well.
Okay.
That was definitely just one. I guess with how electric everything was, they just played their hearts out. I mean, granted, this game and their game last night against the Detroit Pistons, I don't know where that heart went, but obviously it stayed in New York. But, I mean, as far as the people who really impressed me, I mean, Holiday has definitely impressed me. He has been stepping it up on the defensive end. He has been making some good defensive plays for us. I mean, Melo's still balling out like crazy. Derrick Rose has been the big surprise. I know everyone was worried about his injuries and things like that, but I mean, offensively, he still got that quick first step. He still got that insane lateral quickness. He just doesn't have the hops anymore. But I mean, he's also been stepping up on the defensive end too. I've been seeing him getting his hands dirty a little bit, and I definitely appreciate that. I mean, Joakim Noah is always going to be playing defense. He's always going to try to get everyone riled up. I just need for him to not shoot jump shots anymore and airroll them like insane. I mean, Ron Baker is, I believe, a coach's decision to not play, but I'm waiting for him to get some burn as well too. I think he's going to do a lot of good things. Courtney Lee, I mean, he shows up or he doesn't show up. That's pretty much how he is. I expect him to be more of the defensive guard that we signed him up for.
What about Porzingis? How do you feel about Porzingis so far?
Porzingis been balling, man. He's definitely still showing that same fearlessness. he's enjoying trying to work the block a little bit more, so I definitely appreciate that. One thing I will say is I want him to be a little bit more aggressive on the offensive end. I noticed that he has a lot of opportunities where he can uh, take the ball to the basket, make some plays, kick it out to an open shooter or something like that, but he doesn't do it as much. Melo kind of does that, but he tends to like to take the shot from himself. But I can see Porzingis like doing that, driving and kicking, just to spread out the floor a little bit more. But he has no fear shooting that three ball if he gets the chance.
And that's good. Outside of both of our teams, I think the one person, of course, that sticks out the most has to be Russell Westbrook.
Absolutely.
I don't know why he's doing. Well, obviously, I know why he's doing this to the league, but
as we call it, Debates Among Friends, the year of anger.
Yeah, he is playing the game like he has a point to prove. This is a contract year for him. He wants people to know, like, hey, I can and feel like I am the best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
And he's really going out there and showing us something.
Yeah, we want to see it. He's like, you want to see it? It's like, yeah, I want to see it. Dad, watch this. And then he'll sit there and try to rip down the rim.
What did you think about them saying about Kevin Durant during his question and answer that there's no beef, that they are pretty much just saying, hey, we're still friends. We're just not teammates anymore.
I think the media is hoping for a little bit more ferocity. From
KD or from Russell?
From KD. Westbrook is going to be him. Whatever. But they really want to see like KD be this like jerkish kind of guy, be like, yeah, forget about OKC and complain about stuff. Like that's what the media wants to hear. The problem is,
do you think they'll put him? Do you think they'll put him in the same category as a Dwight Howard? Like, oh, he's all jokes eventually, or?
No, I don't think he's all jokes. Dwight was all jokes. He was a jokester.
He was pretty jokish.
Yes. KD is more of I'm about me. I don't care about anyone else. I'm just about me. But
and I didn't get that from Kevin Durant. And I guess that's where it gets kind of crazy, because he really wasn't like that. When he came out of Texas, I felt that he was a little immature. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, I think he changed for the Thunder.
Yes.
He matured, and I think that's why it stung them the most, because he actually grew with the Thunder, and him leaving, although I still think it was a good decision for him to leave for an opportunity to play with people he might respect more as a team. It wasn't one individual there that will say, hey, I wanted to play with this guy. It was more of the team. I want to play for Kerr. I want to play with Steph Curry. I want to play with these people. It has nothing to do with, hey, this person kicked this person, and I can't believe you want to talk to those people after the game. That's all high school stuff.
That's 90s, early 2000s kind of basketball right there.
Yeah, and now it's like, hey, let's join up, man. Let's meet up at this court and just start playing. That's the way it is in the NBA now. If the team's got the money, then it's going down.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and that's why I'm glad that the NBA has a salary cap.
Chris Paul trade, but
Right, and that would have definitely changed the whole outlook of everything. But I don't know if Chris Paul is going to stay with the Clippers beyond this year. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know if Blake Griffin is going to. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be crazy.
See, but it's so weird because they didn't do anything all off season, so maybe that means they're trying to keep one of them.
Honestly, I think they're going to try to keep Blake Griffin. I think they're going to try to keep Blake because he's younger, and a lot of people have high hopes for Blake. I saw him play the other day. He looks better. His jump shot looks pretty good. If he can stay healthy and show us more than just the occasional dunk, I think they'll be pretty good. Honestly, I think DeAndre Jordan, although he's one of the best defensive centers in the league, he kind of restricts them offensively.
Not kinda.
I mean, yes, the occasional alley oop is great, but I need a center that can create at least one offensive play. Like, hey, maybe he has a single hook shot or something that he would be able to do to at least score 6 points by himself.
Yep.
You know,
So
I mean that's
basically,
what,
don't be like Dwight Howard in the beginning of his career.
right. I mean, all Dwight did is dunk. I mean, and again, and the main problem I want people to know because somebody mentioned Dwight Howard as a top 10 center in the league, and I said you're no longer allowed to mention Dwight and top center in the same sentence anymore. Dwight had a chance to work with three of the best bigs in NBA history.
Yep.
Kevin McHale, Olajuwon, and the best big of all time, Kareem. And he took nothing. He also worked with Patrick Ewing, so four of the best. So he had no excuse, none, on why he didn't develop now one offensive move other than that stupid running hook that almost never went in.
I mean, think about it like this: Al Jefferson, in the beginning of his career, when he played in Minnesota, he had Kevin McHale right there, and he evolved his game.
Big Al can score the basketball. Back to the basket, face up to the basket, jump shot. He's got it all.
He can create his own shots.
Man, I don't even want to hear it. I'm actually, speaking of Kevin McHale and of course Patrick Ewing, I'm actually looking forward to when they get another shot to coach. Of course, Patrick Ewing gets a shot at head coach, which I really think he deserves.
I think so too.
He's been a assistant coach for so many years, and I think it's really time. But I look forward to Kevin McHale getting
hashtag give Pat a chance.
Yeah, let Pat Chew get a chance out there. Pat Chew.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, the NBA has been pretty fair. The Warriors aren't as dominant as we thought they would be. They're still working on developing that chemistry, but they're still putting up some gaudy numbers. I really like that Draymond's still getting his. I don't know. I think the only person that I worry about
is Clay.
He's the one that's not really gelling.
Yeah, even when he has his times where he can just shoot the ball, he's not. And the good people at B-Ball Breakdown, shout out to them. They was talking about, is there something wrong with Klay Thompson's jump shot? And I'm actually waiting for them to put out the video because I'm actually curious as well too. Maybe he added something or got rid of something with his jump shot that is causing him to not be as accurate.
A lot of times, looking at him, it's one of those situations where a lot of times he doesn't actually set to shoot. Like, he relies purely on his arms. And I noticed that from a very, very early portion of his career, and even more now as they continue to make it into the actual playoffs, that it's just one of those situations where I really believe that he needs to just start setting. Like, there's not too many people who can be Reggie Miller or Ray Allen, and do the catch and shoot and run, and not everybody can do that.
Rip Hamilton?
And he tries to do that. Exactly. Not too many people can do that. But he tries it.
He does
over and over and over.
Plus, he defends the best, 2 or 3 on the court. Even one sometimes.
This is true.
Live update. Game 7 of the World Series. It is now tied 1-1.
So it's going to go down to the wire then.
At the bottom of the third.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, of course, we're going to give one more update before the show is over. But, I mean, so far it seems like a pretty competitive game. Maybe turn it on once the show is over. Of course, we're committed to delivering entertainment and news. So we make sure that we're here for you. But we also want to make sure you're getting that live update here, live on the show, amongst friends.
Well, Let us transition from the National Basketball Association to the World Wrestling Entertainment. I know the good doctor just got finished re-reviewing the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view that just happened on Sunday. What was your thoughts on that?
I can finally see why the people at the top, the people fighting for the heavyweight title, why they're doing that and why other people are not. Even looking at the grades on websites like Forbes.com, looking at someone like a Roman Reigns versus Rusev, which watching the match, I didn't think it was that bad. Um, I thought a couple of throws to the cage and some of the things were really, really crazy, but I thought Roman was okay. I think that I think they need to stop wrestling each other. I think they need some other people. Um, Maybe it's time for them to send Roman back to Moves Camp
Ha!
so that he can get a few more moves added to his repertoire.
Absolutely.
I really don't like this. I like the spear off top of the steps. That was actually pretty sweet. But ultimately, it's just a spear
Exactly.
from
That's
off the
exactly
steps.
what it is. It's just there. Like, it's not powerful anymore. And I mentioned this earlier today when we talked about this. He needs other wrestlers to make him look good. He can't make other wrestlers look good. For the past year, that's all he's been having is great matches with people who helped him look good.
Hmm. I agree. I agree. It's hard when they're trying to push him, and I think the crowd was pretty over on him. Just listening to him, seems like they're rallying behind him. Maybe they don't want him as the heavyweight champ. Maybe they just want him as the Intercontinental, the United States, those lower titles, so that he can continue to develop. And people, might not like Rusev, but I think Rusev is a really, really good competitor.
Okay. Oh yeah. Also live update. The Rockets and the Knicks. The Knicks have 51. The Rockets have 68 at halftime.
Beautiful. I love it. I like it.
Don't worry,
Mm-hmm.
we'll come back and win it.
But just going off of some of the other fights, I did enjoy the Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins, with the exception of the ending, of course. Jericho coming in kind of made it look kind of weird. The power bomb through two tables was pretty good.
It was a good spot. I can't lie about
It
that.
was a good spot. But at the end of the day, I know that they're really trying to have Kevin Owens continue to hold the title. I really don't think it's going to be Seth Rollins is going to take it from him. They're probably holding it for someone else. Most likely, it's going to be Finn Balor. I knew you were gonna go there. I knew you were gonna go there, but I'm gonna say they're holding it for Finn. Um,
They might.
but as I mentioned
If not
off,
him, might be Samoa Joe.
oh, I don't believe that.
I'm telling you, it's the weirdest things that can happen, man.
It is very weird. I mean, again, like I mentioned off the podcast, the only other thing I can think of is Jericho turning on Kevin Owens and Jericho going into the feud. He can step back up into main event status, which now apparently the Universal title isn't main event worthy, um, which is weird all in itself. I don't know
Yep.
why they're booking the matches this way, um, but they are for some strange reason. And now you got Charlotte and Sasha Banks kind of working in later on, which again, I'm all for diversity, but like you mentioned, the way they did the match wasn't really as great as they might have thought when they wrote it down. Like when they wrote it, it might have on paper seemed great, but it wasn't. So we're gonna see exactly what happens, and of course the tag team matches. I really just don't even think that Anderson and Gallows are even being considered for anything. They're basically just there as names. I don't think they're actually going to compete anytime soon for the tag team titles.
No, I think the tag team titles on both shows is kind of in a wonky state of mind, with the New Day always winning by DQs, and Rhino and Slater just being a joke tag team champion. Like, I was hoping for a little bit more competition. Like, they have the American Alphas on SmackDown, and they're not even in the title picture.
Well, are they still
Anderson
doing
and Gallo, who can't even buy a win.
Are they still doing the Gable injury thing?
No.
He's back.
Like, no.
Because I mean, that would be the only reason to really hold them back. Because I really thought they were the better tag team, and
well,
I mean,
there's plenty of good tag teams in both shows.
It is. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I like Anderson and Gallo. I think they're strong. They're experienced, but I like Enzo and Cass because they're entertaining. Again, new age outlaws kind of give you that Shawn Michaels Diesel kind of feeling.
Yep.
Really, we're just waiting for Cass to drop Enzo with a boot.
Basically.
But we won't see that until Cass can talk freely on the mic, which I think will probably be a couple months to a year.
Yep.
But I'm okay with Gallows and Anderson. I like their finishing move. I really do enjoy it. I just wish that they would have a direction for them. I don't want to see them go a whole year and not really compete for anything like the Dudleys did.
I mean, and you did say that Anderson and Gallows is slowly becoming the new Dudleys, but for me,
yes.
I am looking at it and I'm like, they was completely over in Japan. They was able to make it on their own, as single stars in Japan as well too, because they gotten those chances. They came to the WWE with so much hype because they've done so much.
Right.
But it's like Vinnie Mac is trying to say, well, you may have done it over there, but you're not going to do it here.
But then it's like, why even really pay the money to bring them over? Exactly. I mean, unless you're going, and I was almost positive, and I don't know if he's waiting for Finn Balor. Maybe Finn Balor's injury kind of set things back a little bit. But the whole idea of the Bullet Club, I know Vince loved the Bullet Club, and who wouldn't want another NWO feeling?
I guess, but like
inject some poison.
But that talks about what we talked about before with WWE basically taking outside ideas and bringing them in. Case in point was them trying to acquire all of TNA so they could bring back, the Hardys and utilize the broken Matt Hardy.
Which I think they'll get the Hardy Boys. I'm not sure if they're gonna do broken Matt Hardy. I think they're just gonna go back to being the Hardy.
They'll try to do the broken Matt Hardy just to have him feud with Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt hasn't had a successful feud almost ever.
No, and he hasn't won any of them either, and that's the part that always kind of sucks.
Well, he won his last pay-per-view fight, but it was due to outside interference.
And that's whack.
So it's
again,
like, WTF?
I don't really know what they're doing with Bray. I never understand it. I think he's one of the most underrated wrestlers in the business right now, and I really think that he needs a push. He really needs a push. But going back to Kevin Owens, I was saying off the podcast that the only realistic thing I can see is, outside of Finn Balor coming back, is Jericho turning on him and him being pushed into one more title run. I'd rather see Jericho before I see a Kane or a Big Show or anyone like that. But I could see that happening realistically. Kevin Owens getting hit with a code breaker. Like, I can see that.
Yep.
But I just think the way they're booking things now, it's almost like they're flip-flopping. Like, 1 minute Rusev will look so strong, and then the next they'll put him in a match similar to what they did this week, making him look weak this particular week. And it's like, you have to make up your mind.
Getting fed to Goldberg, yeah.
I mean, you can't just feed people. You know what I mean? Like they have jobbers for that. You know,
They
why
do.
not? Why not just put, I don't know, Xavier Woods out there? You know what I mean? Like that's what he seems to be good at.
Oh, shots fired. At Xavier Woods,
Just,
PhD.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I mean, so overall, over under, I give the pay per view 6.5.
I think you're being too kind. I'm giving it a 4.5.
Ooh, what was your lowest point?
My lowest point was the women's match.
Because of the way it started, you just weren't feeling the
The
way it
way
started.
that they did it, and I said this off the podcast. I'm gonna say this right now. Mick Foley must have booked that match because it was a mirror image of that King of the Ring Hell in a Cell match.
That was a brutal match, man. There would be no way to follow that up. Um, the
And
powerbomb through the
that's
table was
true.
pretty legit. The powerbomb through the table was pretty legit.
But the
I will
lead up
say.
to the powerbomb through the table was not.
I can agree with that. That I can agree with. Um, you know what? The one thing that gets me about that match is that I still feel like Sasha Banks should not have lost the belt.
Well, it made Sasha Banks look extremely weak.
Well, it kind of makes both of them just not look good because now you're going to have a point where now we're going to have the women going up for like the 10th time champions, and we're going to be having the same conversation about Charlotte in 5 years that we have about John Cena.
Right
You
now.
know, right? So she's going to be like 10 time, 11 time, 12 time. I mean, how many times are we going to have this belt change
I
hands?
don't know. I mean, she
It's get
has as many title reigns now as, many of the aforementioned divas.
right. It's just getting out of hand, and I just think they should have let Sasha Banks keep it. Um,
I think they
Clearly,
should have had a much better match than what they did because I felt like it was not worth $9.99 at all.
honestly, I felt like their fight on Raw, where
Was a
she
lot better.
did the yeah, where she did that little corkscrew thing off the top rope. I mean, that was outstanding.
Yes, I know everyone marked out. I mean, you watched that clip right there, you know,
I saw it live,
for
and I was just sitting there like,
days.
wow, yeah. I was like, okay, wow,
I was like, Charlotte did a corkscrew moonsault,
and it was pretty sweet.
and it was extremely sweet.
I guess my lowest moment would just be the way the Universal title match ended. Although I again understand, Chris Jericho's participation in it. I think they could have did without him. I think Kevin Owens could have won without him.
Which is
Honestly,
weird because Kevin Owens could win matches by himself, and he has won matches by himself
but they just make people look weaker by having
by
these
having outside assistance. Yeah,
cheap wins. And that's where it just gets a little
I
style
mean,
splashy.
heck, Seth Rollins won a match against Dean Ambrose by himself,
He did.
and those two had great matches.
Mar- I say I don't know. I'm not really. Like I said, I'm not really a big fan of Dean, but Seth Rollins definitely deserves better than this. I'm not sure what they have planned, but they really, really, really need to get it together. Like it just doesn't even make any sense. Like no sense whatsoever. Um, I don't know what they're gonna do with Kevin Owens. I don't know if they're just having him hold it. But we'll see. I guess in the upcoming weeks.
We will. I mean, once again, hopefully, all we can hope is that they start booking people a lot more strongly and not make them look like, James Ellsworth.
Mm. Preach, my brother. Preach.
But, ladies and gentlemen, as much as we had fun today, we're gonna have to cut this one short. We have ourselves a good track tonight from Tone Deaf from his Polymer album. The song is titled Competitive Nature. We'll catch y'all again next Wednesday as we talk more about sports. I am Professor John Gotti.
And I'm the doctor.
And we'll catch y'all later. Peace and love.
Roll credits.
likes to snub the kid is long gone, and every fucking to my bucket list is crossed off. I'm an all-star on the low to rise to the got off to a false star, but installed in the wrong ballpark. Had a major shot, played to a strong draw, but I was X'd out. Probable cause art. I ain't just a good kid, I'm a top dog with a loud bark. When I want a moment of silence, I ask you what my flaws are, and in the end, niggas poster frozen like Don Noir. Rockstar with the flow, poser bros get exposed as popular frauds that can only come with an image like Don John. Sharky superior when there's blood in the water, I drop jaws. And I ensemble this authentic cast is now credited extras in a hip-hop documentary on-a-thon. I'm in to get it better with everything Q and 5 is on. Preventative measures are taken for this, I've all lost my competitive nature's mistaken for hate. Caught y'all big fish in a small pond, niggas singing a swan song. Isn't this typical? It's all our fault. Witness the business movies they outlaw. Saw what favors were called on in the picture. Saw y'all bought to the mix, so now history gets just lost by default. With the industry trickery, now the broad lies is born. But a sense of vengeance with me's killing me. I ought to find a resolve to let it go. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing you can win that can't be won. Don't want it anymore, so I gotta let it go. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. There's nothing you can bring that can't be brung. Don't want it anymore, so I gotta let go. My competitive nature, I gotta let go. My competitive nature, I can't make you let me know. I gotta let go. My competitive nature, I gotta let go. My competitive nature, gotta let it go. Everybody wanna be the best, but do none of the work. Leave you to cook dinner, they come for the dessert. Well, there's nothing that they can do that I can't, but that doesn't work in reverse. And another person on earth is versatile when I turn the verse. I let polymer serve the purpose to further confirm these terms, but it cause she think everyone is the GOAT, you heard? And the herd has heard of me, but they never heard me, and it's tragic. The servant legend gets sense and presses, curse me with a pass, and I'm banned because the veteran is the dirtiest and rap. And then when my level of longevity, they gonna retire when I keep the facts, they reinvent the wheel, auto-tune it to fix the flat. Here's a single comparison, let's mix and match, now dig the pattern. When they get the smoke, they'll take 2 hits and pass. But a metronome, niggas that get 2 clicks and gas. When the ref control, they're a vegetable. These pussy liars get put on a pedestal. Expect the tone average, bars of the breath, and this is spectacle. Shit's off the wall like it was a pedestal. Tell me you heard somebody better roll. Now daddy, yo, the best technical rapper alive. What do I gain from it? I comfortably say nothing when it comes to the pay in public. If someone with cake does it, it's suddenly gangbusters. So fuck do you name money? Who's buzzing or change dozens of times on a case study? If one of us gains love with the body, we chase money. If it come what we hate for something we like. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing you can bring that can't be won. Don't want it anymore, so I gotta let it go. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. There's nothing you can bring that can't be brung. Don't want it anymore, so I gotta let go. My competitive nature, I gotta let go. My competitive nature, I can't make you let me know. I gotta let go. My competitive nature, I gotta let go. My competitive nature, gotta let it go. I'm sorry. I used to watch these award shows with tears in my eyes, cause I was supposed to be there in my mind. And here were these guys that appear overnight to be stealing my shine. I had spent so many years of my time recording and performing and writing lyrics since 9. Shit, my career was my life. Failure is death, and not only disappear but die. We're talking serious drive off of a cliff, no partner assist or adaptive essence. So we steering it wide. Now hearing it rhyme is clearly a crime. It's scary and live. So when some other peer would get signed, it would spear me aside. Stress and depress me, the veneer in my smile. But I had to face the facts, so let me put a mirror to mine. See, my fear is to lie, and the coffin after I'd accomplish only a fraction of my thoughts. If you're cheated upon my progress, so cheer me on to the funeral. Here we are with a broader. See those that had what you want, did what you knew you could do, but couldn't cause it wouldn't be true to you. You don't wanna make music for douchey dudes to do whatever suits you. It's cool, but the proof's in the pudding, you moved in them shoes. Hardcore, this brutal music is still but the truth. If there's an improvement to you, money who in the fuck is you losing to? So test the limits and pursue the goals that you control. The only assertion about winning shit that you should know is success will determine if you're driven or delusional. Peace. I gotta let this go. I'm already done with my shit. I'm repeating what I did. Imagine what you achieve. Quit trying to take. Win or lose. Yes. these torn and tattered clothes impose their stories on the stage. Oh, they're aiming for me now. They want proof I know my way around a bow and arrow. Let these torn and tattered clothes impose their stories on the stage. Broken arrow, good for nothing when there's nothing left to slay. Let these torn and tattered clothes impose their stories on the stage. Oh, they're aiming for me now.